Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. Today's goal is to learn how to multiply polynomials using the FOIL method. So before we get into that, I want to review a couple things that we've learned before to make sure we're all on the same page. Can anyone tell me what the word monomial means?
One number.
Exactly. Mon means one, and monomial means number. So a monomial is a number that has one term. So that could be something like 2 or 3, or it could be a variable like x or y. So there's just one term. And does anyone know what binomial would mean then, since we know what monomial means?
Means two numbers.
Exactly. So that's a number with two terms. So if there are two terms, you could have two different integers, like 2 plus 3, and you group them together like that. That's a binomial. Or you could have 2 plus x, that's a binomial. Or you could have two variables, like x plus y. So we already know how to multiply monomials, right? If I said multiply 3 times 2, you could do that, right, Gabby?
6.
Exactly. So some you can do in your head like that, and some you might have to take a few steps to do. Like if we said 13 times 14. Can someone tell me how you would do that?
I would multiply 4 times 3 first, which would give me 12, and then I'd carry the 1, and 4 times 1 is 4, so you have 5, and then put an x under the 2, or a 0. Or
A magic
a
zero, you might say?
Yeah, so you don't get confused when we start using variables. And then you multiply the 1 with the 3, and 3, and then the 1 with the 1 is 1, and you add. So you have 2, 8, and 1.
Exactly. So 182 is what you get when you multiply 13 times 14. And those are both monomials because 13 is one number and 14 is one number. So we already know how to multiply monomials, but we need to know how to do binomials or polynomials, which would be kind of like a binomial, but it could have 3 terms or 4 terms or even more. So before we get into that, I want to make sure everyone understands distribution, which is a fancy way of saying that, let's say you have a number like 4x and you want to multiply it by 3 plus 4. You can't just multiply 4x times 3 or 4x times 4. You have to make sure that you multiply 4x times 3 and add it to 4x times 4, right? So we're going to kind of apply that to the FOIL method. So let's say you have two binomials that you want to multiply. Like 4 plus 3 times 2 plus 1. If it was a monomial, it would be easy because we could just do what we did here. But here we have all these numbers. So what you want to do is multiply the first two numbers, the outer two numbers, the inner two numbers, and the last two numbers. And that's going to give you 4 small numbers, right? And what happens is, once you have the F, the O, the I, and the L, you add them all up, and you're going to get the product of these two binomials. And that's called the FOIL method. And FOIL just makes it easy to remember. So let's try this example. So what's 4 times 2?
8.
4 times 1?
4.
3 times 2?
6.
And 3 times 1?
3.
So if you add these all up, what would you get?
21.
Exactly. And we can check to make sure that the FOIL method works, right? Because what's 4 plus 3?
7.
And what's 2 plus 1?
3.
And can you do 7 times 3 in your head?
21.
Exactly. So we know that this is kind of a proof to show that the FOIL method works. So that was kind of an easy example, and we did it with just integers. So let's try it with some variables. Let's say I gave you x plus 4 and x plus 3. John, what would happen if you multiplied the first two terms?
You get x squared.
Exactly, because x times x is x squared. And the outside? Nick?
3x.
The inside? Yep.
4x.
And then the last two terms will come out to 12. So if we add these all together, can we combine x squared with anything?
No.
How about 3x and 4x?
7x.
And then 12 can't combine with anything. So you kind of end up with a longer expression, but it's x squared plus 7x plus 12. That's what you get when you multiply these two binomials. So to finish up, we're going to do kind of a challenge problem where we have two variables in each binomial. So let's say we had x plus y times 3x plus 4y. So can anyone tell me the first step?
Multiply 3x times x to get 3x squared.
Exactly. Next.
X times 4y.
Exactly. Next.
Y times 3x.
Then the final will be y times 4y to get 4y squared. So now we need to see if we have any like terms to combine. 3x squared, I don't think we can combine that with anything. And then this term, which could be rewritten as 4xy, can be combined with this, which could be combined with 3xy, and that'll give you
7xy.
and 4y squared.
Does it matter what order you put them in at that point?
Usually you're supposed to start with the highest exponent and then go in alphabetical order to the last number with the highest exponent. So since x comes before y, you would start with x with the highest exponent, so that's 2, and then go to x of the lowest exponent, which is x to the first power, and then you go to the next letter, so that would be y. If we had any y to the first powers, we would go there, and then we end up with y to the second power at the end. That was a good question. So I'm going to give you guys some homework so you can continue practicing at home, but for now, are there any questions?